Hello and welcome to Season 6 of Business Mentorship, Keepin It Real, introducing corporate leaders who have taken the leap to business owner and participate with their great idea in our guest blog, found on shareyourstories.online. Our guest joins us from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Chiron Yeng empowers coaches to elevate their leadership abilities through the 4 pillars of heart-centered leadership: clarity, courage, connectedness, and conviction, and at the same time avoid burnout and create abundance. Let's find out how Chiron has built his own business using the same method, finding authenticity, abundance, clarity, and transformation for sustained success. It is my pleasure to welcome and introduce everyone to Chiron.
Hi, Trish. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure.
You know, I have to say, it's so lovely to see you. You and I actually had the pleasure of meeting at the award ceremony in London, England earlier this year. And I must say, I'm completely intrigued by your 4 pillars of heart-centered leadership. Maybe you can give our viewing and listening audience a bit of a background as to why clarity, it's 4 C's actually, clarity,
4 C's.
courage, connectedness, and conviction are really important.
All right. Yeah. Look, I think I call it pillars because for reasons that, the 4 C's doesn't come in sequence, or it's a linear thing or something that you tick off the boxes and then you just do it. And then there you go. The formula is there.
Right.
The way I see it, it's like, hey, it's like building a chair, right? You need 4 core pillars to make something stable. So I'm going to start with clarity, but to be honest, each pillar is built on each other, right? So they are actually connected to one another, but I'm going to start with clarity anyway. I think for any businesses, for anybody in life, I think, and you will see this inequality in any leaders, is that they have a powerful vision that they walk into, right? And the inspiration of clarity really comes from the old philosophy in Greek I think it's Socrates, right? He says, know thyself, right? You got to know yourself really, really well inside out. And I think a good trait of a leader is being able to be inquisitive, and to question the assumptions and beliefs and conclusions that they have. And because without that, you wouldn't improve. And the thing about vision is always about going towards the unknown, right?
Very true.
So despite having a vision, most leaders only have up to 60% of clarity, and we can't get the full clarity until we actually invest in ourselves or take those risks and move in the unknown. But what I really find when it comes to clarity is really not about having a map and relying on it, because when you use a map and you go to the terrain doesn't usually matches what's in the map, right? The landmark is here, the landmark B is there, but it doesn't necessarily look that way, especially when you go into, a terrain like it's a forest or something like that, right? It's different if it's your own neighborhood. And I'm using that as a metaphor in life because we don't know what to expect despite our plans.
Isn't that the truth?
Right?
Isn't that the truth?
And we can have great goals. But the thing is that when you arrive at a certain goal, then your previous other goals starts to become obsolete because you have grown, you have changed, you shifted.
Sure.
So I'm more inspired about helping leaders develop a compass, because no matter what happens on the outside, when you have a great compass, and this is a sign and a trait I see in many great leaders, is that they know where their compass is, and they're always, having the ability to say it word by word with clarity and communicate that with people who wants to follow them, to inspire them, and really lead them in such a way. So I think clarity definitely, it's this thing about knowing who you are, your purpose, that is something that is more felt than, discovered from the outside. And it's really following that sense of intuition to get to where we want to go. So that's the pillar of clarity.
I absolutely love your metaphor with the compass, because the minute you said compass, I had a visualization of what the compass looked like. And, we both know that when true north is probably really what we're all looking for, right? Because when we know exactly where it is that we're going, usually we can find the way. But if we get lost, the compass will take us back to our true north, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. I have a saying that a compass can create a map, but a map can't create a compass.
That's so true.
Right. And
so
the reflection of that is like, an external advice or strategy,
Hmm.
cannot help you make decisions. Like, for example, everybody's using AI right now to
Hmm.
find answers and, operations and things like that.
Hmm.
But AI shouldn't be making decisions for you.
Yeah, that's very true, right? And I think that we're all, as you say, struggling with trying to find new ways to find clarity, really,
Yeah.
because we've seen so many changes in the last few years that I think perhaps some of our foundational elements have been challenged, right?
Yeah, and it's gonna keep getting worse, or more chaos. But I think with chaos comes with a lot of creativity for us to redefine what it means to be human as well as business owners.
Yeah, I like the chaos and creativity angle because you're never creative if you're in the same place,
100%. Yeah.
right? So the only way that we become creative is if we're pushed out of our comfort zone. And unfortunately, whether you call it chaos or opportunity, that's really what creates the, the sort of
Yeah.
foundation for creativity.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the difference between a leader, someone who is self-led and is able to, see it as an opportunity versus someone who will blame and shame. And we all have that part of us that, feel the pain and we want to blame and, but part of all of this is about taking back the responsibility and to be able to shift that. I think that's a more proactive way of living life.
Mhm.
And to me, it's more secure because I take my power back for myself no matter what changes happens on the outside, whether it's on business or relationship or any, form of things that makes us feel a little bit scared, which kind of like, as we can see, that the conversation is leading to the next pillar, courage, right?
Mhm. We all have to demonstrate courage probably every day in our everyday lives, right?
Yeah, yeah. And courage is a choice, right? And it does not mean that we have no fear, it does not mean we have no pain or stress, but it's the choice that we make in the face of pain, fear, and stress. One of the book that really inspired me when it comes to the word courage is Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, right?
Mhm.
And I think it's truly inspiring that he tells his story that he's able to find love and freedom in the middle of a concentration camp, like the worst of human history that is
Right,
there.
right.
So I think the display of courage is like the ability to choose what experiences you would like to have no matter what external circumstances are. And as we know in businesses, like things, you can control everything as much as you can internally. You can get your marketing, your sales funnel, and you can do everything right on the inside. But in the end of the day, it's still out of your control.
Mhm.
So I think the courage is like, there's two aspects to this. One of them is, embracing your human vulnerability,
Mhm.
right? That we don't have all the answers. And then the second part of it is like saying yes to something that you trust, which is the clarity, right? Before you even have all the answers and certainty.
Yeah, and that's the biggest, that's the hardest part, isn't it, really? Because it's taking responsibility to say, I'm going to step into the place that I'm uncomfortable in order to find clarity and move forward. So you're absolutely right. These pillars, the four pillars that you're talking about, are completely interconnected because they're going to happen at different times, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I truly believe courage is not just something that someone has, right?
Right.
Like we see in superheroes and stuff like that. Oh yeah, he's just courageous, right? No, I think a courageous is a skill and a trait that could be trained
Oh,
actually.
yeah. Yeah.
And to me, it's about the little things like learning how to build self-trust. If you wake up in the morning, are you going to make the bed or are you going to, break your own promises? Or when
Mhm.
you say yes to something that you're going to commit to, are you going to break your promises or are you going to show up? That's
Right.
those little things like, it's building the building blocks for courage.
Mhm.
And it goes all the way if you can compound that every single day from all those little things that we're doing, whether we choose to show up or not, which builds self-trust. Eventually, when big decisions come that really test our internal fears and alarm,
Mhm.
with all those things building up, then you have more confidence in yourself because to trust the unknown is to first trust yourself to be able to handle the unknown.
Right.
Then nothing really scares you despite because you know that you'll pick yourself back up anyway. I think that's
Mhm.
something that I've definitely developed, moving through my healing journey that I've also able to see that, hey, you know what? It doesn't matter what happened to me anymore because I know I have the wisdom now to be able to build myself to move through the unknown, and it's all the little moments that I was building myself into.
it also builds the resilience, right? It gives you the
100%.
right, gives you
Yeah,
the
100%.
resilience to sit, to fall back on the resilience almost and say, okay, yes, I felt this before, but look at what the outcome was. The outcome was awesome because I took that step.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why I say it can be trained. And of course, it's
Mhm.
uncomfortable. But just like going to the gym, doing it over and over again, you just kind of go like, okay, I feel the fear, but now it's more from an excitement side of
Sure,
things. And
sure.
that's an interesting study, right?
Hmm.
Between um the footballers, the performers, the athletes and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And they were hooked up to a machine and whether they're excited or whether they are fearful, the body is the same signaling of arousal.
Sure. Yep.
And it's the reframing of it and experiences and wisdom around it that really, helps them to perform better despite the fear.
Is that how we get to the connectedness? Is that the next pillar? Is the trust, resilience, the complexity, like all of those things seem to be moving into the direction of connectedness.
I'm glad that you picked that up because that's how my brain thinks, all right?
Okay.
Because connectedness has a lot to do with relationships, right?
Absolutely.
And all relationship starts with self-relationship. If you can trust yourself, then people can trust you.
Right.
And the thing is that the connectedness pillar is something that I thought is because many leaders, business owners, people who are leading at the front, trailblazers and stuff, entrepreneurs, they love to work alone. We are
That's
lone
so true.
wolves. We are control freaks and we love to
Yeah,
do it all,
that
know
is
it
so
all, say
true.
it all, control it all.
Yeah.
But it only gets us so far.
Yes. Yes. And
And
without the collaboration piece, which is the connectedness, you're never going to be able to achieve that ultimate goal.
100%. And the thing is that people think that it's their own dream they're achieving. No, I think everybody's dream is part of a collective dream, and
Hmm.
being able to sell that and influence people to join your mission and be part of
Hmm.
your cause is because
Hmm.
it's their cause too, right?
Sure.
Is
Yes.
it's definitely a trait, as a leader that you need to develop. And none of this can happen if you don't have the ability to influence, and the ability to influence comes from the first two pillars, clarity and courage.
Mm. And isn't that why they say that we attract like-minded individuals,
Yes, exactly. Right.
right?
Yeah, yeah. And to me, building a community of like-minded and like-hearted as well individuals, people who share the same values as you, not just the
Sure.
dreams.
Right.
They are the people that helps, you know, people to create legacy because it's
Yeah.
really about them, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not that one person at the top. Definitely
No,
not.
no, exactly. Right. And
Yeah.
I think that's really for our viewing and listening audience, if they can sort of connect the dots between these four pillars, because as you describe them to us, we can relate our own experience to the things that you're describing, because I think they're very real and honest and human, really.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%. And one thing I
Conviction.
also want to say, yeah, before conviction, there's one thing I want to say about connectedness is as well, it's the risk, to me, it's not about being powerful, being influential. It's not about being the smartest person in the room. It's not about being the richest person in the room or the most, fame or whatnot. I think it's like you say, it's like how human can you be and to show the totality of who you are. And it's the authenticity that really moves people. Otherwise, we're just like everybody else. And I think why people gravitate to certain individuals is not really because of who they are, right? But really that the presence and the charisma that really comes from like
Right,
you're so connected with
right,
people. And what I've really seen is that these most of these people who are influential are people in service. They care about the community more
right.
than, their own personal desires.
You know what I love is that you're in Malaysia and I'm in Canada.
Mm,
I would venture to guess there's a few decades difference in age, and we're obviously of different gender. And yet here we are sharing the same four pillars.
mm,
And it's because we're humans and we're like-minded, and because we have the feeling of service. And I'm glad you brought that up, because our legacy is you have to leave something behind. It can't always be about the money, right?
Yeah, and it can be about you,
Right.
right? Mm-hmm.
So
And I
true.
find my greatest joy when I'm in service. And just to tell a little bit of a story, back in 2020 when the lockdown happened, I had no idea what to do and what I was doing. But I knew people needed help. But at the same time, I was kind of bedridden with the whole flare up in
Hmm.
my skin. And what I did then was that I was like, hey, you know what? Instead of waiting for myself to heal, why not try to be in service and help people who are in need? So I used my skill to help people to work through their emotions,
Hmm.
right? At that time when the lockdown happened, there was like a mental health was just skyrocketing.
Yes.
So when I help people to heal, all right, and to find some sense of purpose again, my healing sped up because of that.
Sure. And it's the
Yeah.
conviction that you had, right? I mean, you were actually demonstrating your last pillar, which is the conviction to make a difference.
Yes, and the conviction is really about staying the game long enough
Mhm.
sustainably. And because we have ups and downs, our feelings are fleeting. And there are days I'm gonna be honest here, it's like I don't really want to wake up. I don't really want to show up to my business. But
Mhm.
wait a minute, the business is not about me anymore.
That's right. That's
Especially
true.
for those of us who are like in the service industry,
Hmm.
who are coaches, consultants, healers, and who are leading other people. Business
Hmm.
is not about you, right?
Right.
And we are here to provide the transformation and to work towards the bigger cause. So conviction definitely has, okay, of obviously the vision that you're trying to bring in,
Hmm.
but conviction is also like smart energy management
Hmm.
that really helps you to understand, okay, what yeses are you saying to and what
Hmm.
nos are you saying to as well.
Right.
Because
Right.
once you have a really powerful yes that you're building, most often the biggest mistake that most leaders are making is to keep saying more yeses. But
Yeah.
in actuality, we got to say no more no's than yeses. And that's the part of conviction because people's going to test you. Oh, you say no to me, I'm offended, but yeah, I've not seen you in 2 weeks. Or your family comes to go and like, hey, I really need your attention. And this is where the conviction of saying no over and over again without hurting other people
Sure.
has to come in because we have something greater than us and greater than our families and those things. I'm not saying they're insignificant, but the ability to lead yourself with the right choices, is definitely more about the conviction rather than this sheer willpower to just push through things.
But I also think we need healthy boundaries. That's really what you're making the marriage between conviction and healthy boundaries. Because if you don't have healthy boundaries, then you're depleted. And if you're so depleted that you can't serve, then you're not actually, it takes you all the way back to the beginning, which is the clarity and conviction, right? So it's almost
100%.
like full circle.
Yeah,
It's
actually, the four things is the same thing. It's just
Yeah,
different
and
parts. Like I say, it's a chair.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. It goes full circle. Now, just to switch gears a little bit, I noticed on your website that you've had the opportunity to be a TEDx speaker.
Yep.
And I know that, for every entrepreneur, that's a dream. Everyone who has, clarity and purpose says, I want to get on the stage to do a TEDx talk. And I think the reason is that adds credibility to what it is that we're doing. And
Hmm.
it hopefully gives a wider target market an opportunity to hear our message. So, what was the tipping point for you to get onto the TEDx stage and share your story? Did you sprinkle the infield with all of the various places that were having TEDx talks and just apply and see who would invite you to the stage? What was the strategy?
There wasn't any strategy. I had a dream. I wanted to be on a TEDx stage. I wrote out my speech before I was on stage. And
Mhm.
then 6 months later, I was on a food trip. And then I was with the curator of the TEDx for that year.
Get out.
Yeah. And then she started interviewing me when I was in this boat because we were having a food trip and stuff like that. And she's just talking to me. And then she's like, I've been looking for someone like you who have real experiences of healing and things like that. And I'm
Wow.
like, I don't even know you. And then suddenly, do you? And then she's like, hey, do you want to come onto the TEDx stage? I'm like, what?
Wow. Talk about serendipity.
Serendipity. Yeah, exactly. And you know, here's what I believe, right? When you are really prepared with yourself and you're committed to your mission and your vision, be in a place of service so much that the world can't ignore you. And when the time is ready, if it's yours, it's yours. When it's not, it's not. But you have to be prepared. Now, the preparation isn't for, oh, I hope I'm going to get this X, Y, and Z outcome because you don't know when that's going to happen.
That's right.
you might as well be the best version of the person that you are. And then in your content, if you're on Instagram, on YouTube, or anything, speak it as if it's a TEDx talk all the
Right.
time,
Right.
right? And it's not, as much as the stage is glamorous and things like that, but to be honest, the reason, here's my honest feeling why I got on that stage in such a way, is because I had a message to share
Right.
about love and healing, and this is something that the masses needed to hear. By all means, do the application and do whatever you need to do because that's your dream. But again, I think it's really about the earnesty and the honesty of like wanting to share a message. And I truly believe everybody has a story,
Mhm.
everybody has a message, and everybody in their origin story has a track record of success. And until they can really understand who they really are, that's when, they change the world just by telling the story.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's why I developed the platform, right? I mean, we're sharing entrepreneurial stories so that it provides people with an opportunity to have their voice visible, right? We want
Yeah.
people to be seen and heard and found and ultimately hired in their ultimate area of expertise.
Yeah, 100%.
So give us an indication, Chiron. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, you've done a heck of a lot of things in a short period of time, really. I mean, 5 years is in the span of life is pretty short.
Yep.
So what are you thinking will be your next milestone or the next barrier that you will break? Or what is the next project that you might be working on that you can share with our viewing and listening audience that maybe you haven't shared as of yet?
All right. Well, I am writing a book.
Aha!
Uh-huh. That's a project that is in my mind. And more often than not, it's not about the book. It's really about I want to champion an idea
Mhm.
and something that I feel that it's missing in the conversation in the world right now
Mhm.
amongst leaders, entrepreneurs, and business. Right?
Mhm.
Obviously, the trend right now speaks about AI, intelligence, and what it means to move towards that direction.
Right.
It's gonna disrupt government, it's gonna disrupt education, how we work with our careers and jobs like that. And to be honest, I myself am super, super interested in that topic. And I'm a little bit of a visionary because I like to look ahead of like my trends, like what's going on in the future to see what relevance that I'm actually doing right now.
Mhm.
So one of the idea that I really want to champion right now is the idea of trust currency, right?
That's a really wonderful way to phrase it because, again, just like the compass, now I have a visualization of what that means. The connect, we always see people shaking hands, right? That's really a
Yeah.
trust currency.
Yeah, that is a trust currency because you see it in social media and the posting and a lot of our media's marketing and strategy and stuff like that is based on attention currencies. Like
Mhm.
how much can you bombard your ads on
Mhm.
people's
Shock
face,
or shock,
right?
right?
And then to a point that they'll buy from you because it's so
Right,
annoying or they'll click on it, right?
right.
So to me, trust currency goes beyond that. It's about can you connect with people to people and to really see if they even have a need. Of course, it's much more work,
Mhm. For
right?
sure.
But this is something that I've tried in my own work as well. But trust currency is not just getting clients; it's also about building a long-term relationship with your client
Right.
that will stay a long time with you.
Mhm.
The retention rate of like my clients coming to me is way longer. It's high. It's high in percentage
Sure. Because you're
because
building a
because
trust currency.
because I'm building a trust currency. And that's the
Right,
reason why I'm able to scale up, my business really quickly is because that's always the next thing for them.
right,
And because of that, one of the part of the building trust currency is that I have to hold myself accountable to continue to grow and become a better version of a leader and a coach.
right.
And of course, to increase my expertise in the field so
Mhm.
that my programs are constantly evolving rather than
Mhm.
just, okay, here's a program, watch everything you want, and then it's done. And
Right.
that's the kind of education that I feel like it's so transactional.
Yes,
Now, I
absolutely.
care about transformation. Transformation takes time, transformation takes trust and safety.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
transformation to me is really about can I lead people into the unknown? So, because to me, where the unknown is where their dreams and desires are.
And without trust, you can't do that.
You can't do that, and they can't do it alone.
Right.
And I had enough of like, personal growth industry just selling information and not
Mhm.
something that we can implement or something that we can actually take it on our own to the next level.
Yeah, it's
So
not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. And we get too many humans that know too much, but not doing enough or
Mm,
showcasing an embodied way of actually knowing the knowledge.
right.
So trust currency is, to me, the sales start when you first start having a conversation
Hmm.
all the way until, we depart,
Right.
whichever that time is. And even after
Sure.
departure, the transformation goes on and the impact goes on because now that person lives, an embodied understanding of the kind of impact we impart on another person.
Yeah,
So
that's
for
the
that,
legacy, right?
that's the legacy, and that for
Yeah.
that to happen, it's really about championing. After that is true leadership through love. In the end of the day.
I have to say, you've given so many really wonderful visual aspects of the work that you do while explaining and taking us on a journey that explains the four pillars that you have. Now, one of the things that we do in the guest blog is to finalize the blog, we ask you to share 3 words of advice. So, to
Yep.
finish our conversation today, why don't you just take a second to tell us why your 3 words are important? And they are love, gratitude, and forgiveness.
All right. Let's start with forgiveness. All right. So the story for me around forgiveness is understanding that after walking a 15 years journey of going through 50 over different medical interventions,
Mm-hmm.
holistic alternative all the way to the shamans and mainstream medicine, I've tried everything, and to a point where I did not heal. And I was forced to ask the question, what is the limiting factor that's causing me not to heal? Because the body's intelligent. Then I realized it was me. I hated myself. I blamed myself at that I have unprocessed emotions about how I saw myself, and that lingered for too long. Then I realized I was the limiting factor. I was in my way of my own healing.
Wow.
And in the middle of COVID, when the lockdown happened, there was this realization, and I spoke to God. And I'm not that religious, but I believe there's a higher power out there. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
please give me something because I'm missing something, obviously.
Right. Right.
I just hear one word, forgiveness. That's it. And that's
You
it.
had,
That's
you
when I
had to
hear
forgive
that word.
yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And then I cried, and then I had tears. And by the way, just to give some context here, I did not cry for a year and a half because I wasn't able to cry because my nervous system was so stuck in trauma, in freeze mode, that prevented me from crying. And in that moment, when I knew I was able to cry, the healing started to
Start.
happen.
Yeah, I was just going to say that was the sign, right?
That was the sign. And in 3 months, I healed, by the way. And of course, in that 3 months, I was doing like service and helping and being in service, which leads to, the concept of love and gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
What heals us is what creates us, and love is that energy, right? Love is the energy that creates. And when I say heal, I'm not just talking about our physical health. I'm talking also about our business health, our financial health.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we get too stuck about chasing after the next client because we're too busy trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
But, if we can shift ourselves back from, shifting from fear back to love, right? To lead from a place of love, to lead from a place of service, we are more likely to get a client rather than chasing after someone when it's fear driven. So love to me encompasses everything. And I've already explained that with the pillars, and that's what heart center leadership is all about. And it's really about building trust currency. And the reason why I wanted to give such, concrete words and visual, like you've mentioned, because everybody says, love thy neighbor and stuff like that, right? But we don't really know what it means. And I want to make it actionable and practical. And this is why, love is just a big thing for, it, it, it guides everything that I do.
Yeah, I was just going to say your work, that is really the foundational element of your work,
Exactly. Yep.
right?
And one of the things I think you remember when I was sharing my keynote speech in Woman Changing the World Awards, I asked the whole room, like, do you guys believe in love? Not just in spirituality or relationships or your family, but also in economics, in
Mm-hmm.
business, in politics,
Mm-hmm.
and most of the people put up their hands. So I think
Mm-hmm.
love is foundational. It's not
Yeah.
just an abstract concept, but definitely people can take too far. And this is why I want to ground it with all of this. Which brings me to the last word, gratitude. Gratitude is the practice of love.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that you can actually do, right? To start appreciating yourself and what's around you.
Mm-hmm.
Too often, as business owners and entrepreneurs, we try to look for the next thing, but we don't know, like, at this moment, we are already living our dreams. And gratitude has a whole science to it. When we can practice real gratitude, when we can genuinely feel it, it creates a cascade of neurobiochemical chemistry in the body that really promotes healing, promotes really for you to think in clarity, that really leads you to courage and leads you to connectedness and leads you to conviction. So to me, gratitude is the practice of love, and forgiveness is the doorway to love.
That's a really wonderful way to summarize your work, because I think that the words that you use and the visualization that you provide really connects with us as humans, regardless of where we're located and what our backgrounds are and what our desires are, because at the end of the day, those are all really fundamental human issues. And, I really want to stay connected with you, because when you publish that book, you have to come back on to our show and tell our viewing and listening audience all about the journey of writing the book, because I have a feeling that the journey is just as important as the end result, right? So let's stay
100%.
connected. Yeah, let's stay connected for
Definitely,
sure. Yeah.
for sure.
It was
Yeah.
an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us and giving us some really wonderful things to think about. I really appreciate your time.
Likewise, thank you for having me. Thank you for making this space for everybody to speak to.
Thank you. To
Yeah.
our viewing and listening audience, I want to thank you for joining us today for this edition of Keeping It Real, where we introduce you to the person behind the logo. If you'd like to connect with our guest, you'll find Chiron's contact information in the description portion below. I'm Trish Tonai, author, artist, and the founder and host for the series, and we invite you to share your business story. Just visit our website at shareyourstories.online and subscribe to our channel, Business Mentorship, Keeping It Real. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to meeting you next time when we share another great idea.